Bem-vindo, bem-vinda ao RedeMAIS Podcast. Nesse episódio a gente vai conversar um pouquinho em inglês, então você acompanha, se você quiser, nas legendas aqui embaixo. Eu estou aqui com o Mike Merritt, que é Chief Customer Officer da Planet. Mike, thank you very much for being here with us.
Very glad to be here. It's inspiring.
In your presentation, you said that we here in Brazil should be proud about the work that has been made by RedeMAIS. Why?
So we have something that we call the civil government maturity model, right? It's level 1 and 2. These are people that are looking at maybe remote sensing data that's 1 year old or so, being very reactive, or just reliant on sending people boots on the ground to do inspections and things like that. That's the old way of doing things. Mm-hmm. But that's where 95% of governments in the world today are, right? They are using remote sensing in a very limited fashion. It is bottlenecked in a tiny group of people. And it's not getting to the people that need to take action. So almost always the data comes after the fact when it's too late. Brazil is the first country that I know of that has crossed this chasm to our level 3 or level 4 maturity level, where you're using AI to generate alerts on a daily basis of changes that are happening across the entire country, then exposing that data to not just experts on technical experts or GIS experts, but people that are actually taking action, right? You have almost 100,000 users. Probably by the time this airs, it'll be way more than that, right? So you're getting the data in the hands of people to take action and generating results, right? Illegal deforestation down massively in Brazil, and huge ROI in terms of fines and confiscated.
It means that Brazil is working more with prevention than after the disasters happen.
Proactive, right? It's very proactive. And that has a cascade effect, because then people know, the bad actors of organized crime, they know actually that the government and the authorities can see this. And so they'll reduce their activities and move on to other things.
You also talked very about natural disasters.
Yeah.
Why did you choose this theme for your presentation?
Well, unfortunately, this is becoming more and more common. Obviously, 2 recent natural disasters: the flooding in Mato Grosso, the burning in the Pantanal. Right? It's terrible, actually. We see it in California. I see it all over the world. Increasingly, natural disasters. So the question is, how do we minimize the risk of those, and how do we manage them once they do happen?
And do you think technology can contribute to this kind of prevention also in cases of climate change, natural disasters?
I know for sure. Yeah, particularly when it comes to fires, it can be mitigated, but also even in flooding, right? Just knowing where the potentials of floods could be, starting to take long-term remediation steps to prevent that from happening. These are things, the data is there. All we need to do is get it in the right hands at the right time.
You have a new technology about that, right?
We do. So we have something called planetary variables on our side that allows, for example, detailed analysis of things like fire risk, or you can use it to look at things like agriculture, or you can use it to look at things like flood risk and things like that. And then our partners, SCCon, develops some even more sophisticated techniques for analyzing floods, where areas that are impacted, so they can apply resources to the right areas, like a bridge or a road that maybe people didn't know was damaged. We can prioritize where to allocate those resources.
And how does it work? What the data you have that you can analyze, what you can see to prevent those kinds of disasters?
Yeah, I mean, look, let's talk about fires, right?
Mm-hmm.
As an example, there's a bunch of factors. When a fire starts, okay, is it a minor situation, or does it spread like wildfire, right? And grow to catastrophic levels, right? There's a number of variables that you can look at to see, right? So biomass, right? How much fuel is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
How dry is it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is it dry? Is it lush? The soil water content in itself, right, will reveal that. Then you're looking at, okay, well, land surface temperature, right? Has it been hot for a sustained period of time? Is it an outlier year for both dryness, heat, and if there's a lot of foliage and fuel? So it's actually a really simple formula. Getting the data and fusing it together to give you like the right signal, that's the key here.
The way you say it seems simple, but it can solve lives.
Yeah,
It can save lives.
it can, and it does.
Yeah, right.
Today. Yeah, I mean, in California, they're using it today to prevent wildfires, and it's getting more effective every year.
How is your work in other countries beyond Brazil?
Yeah, so I think
Which technologies are you using? How it can be developing, and which is coming in the future? What can you tell us about?
Yeah, so if Brazil is the leader when it comes to what I would call natural resource management, right? Managing these broad areas of natural resources. There's some other countries that are leading in other areas. So, for example, in Europe around agriculture, they have the Common Agriculture Program, which is like a subsidy program. We're working with several countries over there to actually generate dashboards to show, okay, what crops are being harvested, how are they being harvested and grown, are they being sustainable practices and things like that. So they're using that to see that granular information that can eliminate fraud, ensure compliance. I mean, you pass a law, you want to ensure people are actually following that law, not just because of the financial consequences, but the environmental consequences as well, right? So they're doing some amazing things over there. Also in India, I mentioned in my talk yesterday, Odisha eliminated 200 million US in agriculture subsidy fraud in the first year of a program. They built a dashboard similar to what RedeMAIS did, but for agriculture. Also in the defense and intelligence and security space, we're seeing some really interesting things, particularly maritime domain awareness, what we call maritime domain awareness. And this is looking at all the ships in key areas of the oceans and then tracking dark ships, right? These are ships that are smuggling things, illegal fishing, things like that are not only security threats, but environmental threats as well.
Both are connected, right?
Yeah, they're all these are connected. It's all on what I would say the continuum of what we call broad area management, right? Looking at the entire forest, right? The entire ocean and the fisheries, right? Like looking at all the agriculture areas in the entire country. Like these are things that were not possible even 2 years ago.
Here in Brazil, we have our federal police, our FBI.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Using your technology. Do you have those kind of uses in other countries too?
Yeah, we do. In Colombia, actually, we work with the Air Force there. We work with a bunch of defense and intelligence customers worldwide, and like the United States government being one example. And then we work within some countries and states. It's usually either people managing like the national forests and things like that, or managing agriculture for compliance purposes, or looking at border security and things like that.
Thinking about security, environment, climate change, which kind of message would you like to let for our audience?
I mean, the message here is in Brazil, with the RedeMAIS program, like it is amazing. The results are amazing, but we can't stop here. We need to go further and further, right? And so let's look at both, accelerating adoption of this program, right? Accelerating it throughout Brazil. I think we need to look at the entire Amazon, right? Like was it 9 countries where the Amazon is? We need to look at shared resources and shared monitoring across because criminals don't respect borders, right?
It's the same forest. It's the same Amazonia forest.
Exactly.
So,
we
need them.
We need a holistic approach to that and a coordinated approach to that. And then we need to start looking at incentives around things like carbon, right? So we can measure carbon now. That's something that we couldn't do.
That's great.
Before, right? How do we incentivize people, these land owners, to preserve the carbon?
We can earn a lot of money with that.
They can. Because right now it's too easy to make money the other ways, right? Let's make it easier to do the right thing. That's going to benefit everybody, both, from a climate standpoint, but also economically. The country can benefit economically from that.
Mike, thank you very much for being here with us.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. E obrigado a você também por nos acompanhar. Fique de olho porque tem mais podcast para você.